Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services. Hello and welcome to In Conversation With. I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Macey Greenall, Financial Advisor at Key Financial Wealth Management. Thank you for joining me today, Macey.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to sit and have this conversation with you.
Awesome. So I guess my first question for you is, how did you get into financial advice? What led you to it? How did you find out about it?
Okay, yeah. So I'm quite a young advisor. So just for a little bit of a debrief, I'm 23 for anyone that is listening. So I've started this really young. I've grown up with a dad who's in the financial services industry. So again, a little bit of background to jump in there. Key Financial Wealth Management is a family-run practice. So that's been really great. I kind of grew up and I never really understood what my dad did. So if anyone asked me what my parents did, I'd be able to say, explain what my mum did. And then when it came to my dad, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, it's in finance. That was it. Yeah. Until probably I was doing my A-levels and it came down to the crunch of what do you actually want to do? Do I want to go to university? Which I ended up going, really didn't enjoy my degree. And I was kind of going to stop that degree and go to a different one in the following kind of university year, whatever you'd call it. And in the meantime, I got just a normal full-time sort of admin job, working for a general company. And I kind of thought, I started speaking to my dad more about what it was that he actually did. And I thought, do you know what, why not? So I thought I'm going to just see if I could do this. And I started self-learning. My dad kindly helped me again and gave me guidance, but I got a CII account and just started self-revision, self-learning on the side of my job. And I took RO1 and I passed it. And I thought, do you know what, I'm going to keep going with this. And I ended up passing all my ROs really quickly and kind of just thought, I don't know what the point of me going back to university is. Let me see if I can, learn on the ropes. And fortunately, my dad was able to kind of guide me through that. And that's kind of how I saw the role of a financial advisor and learn about the financial services.
That's really cool. It's nice that you were able to make that pivot and realize, this isn't for me. I'm going to, do something that I actually enjoy. Took me a little bit longer to do that. I completed that degree.
It's really hard. No one talks about that as well. At school, you're with your friends. You're with your friends at a set time, you're going to be at the same place at the weekend because you're all talking about it at school. And then it comes down to, I actually have to make a big decision now of what I want to do. And I'm really grateful. I really struggled with knowing whether to drop out of university or not and or defer. And I was going to defer. And I'm so glad that I just took the plunge and ended up going into work, because I wouldn't be sat doing this now at this age if I'd carried on with something I wasn't enjoying.
Yeah. And I've seen that you have a bit of a focus on athletes in particular, with the financial planning that you do. So athletes often experience significant income fluctuations throughout their careers. So what are some of the biggest financial challenges professional athletes face?
The biggest financial challenge they face is they have no idea how long that career is. And also, contracts are getting longer, but especially for a player that's on a short contract, they obviously know their earnings in that period. But you don't know if you're going to get signed again after. You don't know if you're going to get injured today, tomorrow, in a year, 3 years, 5 years. It really is a massive game of uncertainty. I guess as well, compared to any other normal career and retirement age, a player could play, let's say, till 35, which is exceptionally young in terms of a normal career at working age. Let's say people work in a normal unquote quote job until, let's say, I don't know, state pension age. Even some people, a footballer just does not have that capacity with such a physical job. So I think, again, a good career is 35, but many players unfortunately don't even make it to that age. So it's the financial pressures is, am I going to get another contract? If so, is that going to be more money, less money? When, if and when am I going to become injured? And am I going to recover from that injury? And how do I make this money last? Even if I do play till 35, they get accustomed to a certain lifestyle. So how am I going to make this money last, basically?
Yeah. I can imagine that's quite scary to think about. You're thinking about your dream career and then to have to come to terms with that. So how can financial advisors tailor their approach to address the specific needs of young, high-earning athletes?
It is really hard because I do a lot of financial education for academy players or even older, but it's mostly aimed at 21s and some that are just getting their first professional contract. And it's hard for anyone to accept that they might not make it in their dream career, or that dream career that they've worked from such a young age and dedicated their pretty much whole life to, and their parents dedicated their life to, that it can be snapped away pretty quickly, as quick as you got it, really. So I think it's tailoring it to an approach where you're not scaring them at all, because you've got to be positive. You've got to be a positive influence around people, and for people to understand what you're saying. Again, they need to like to be around you and to talk to you, but you've got to make them aware of the realities. And I think to make them aware of the realities, you have to use real life case studies. And there's unfortunately been a lot of players that have been burnt in the past, or there's players that have unfortunately had to be declared bankrupt through kind of various reasons, whether that's, wrong gambling, addiction, or spending habits, etc., lack of knowledge, lack of education. So you need to make them aware that's happened. That's not just something we all talk about. It's real life with really big Premier League players that have been heavily in the press for it. And I think, again, tailoring the approach as well as remembering who you're in front of. So this is something small, but I email my players, of course, any players that I look after or work with, because we have to send over those documents. But it's like, even means of communication, they're young. We voice note on WhatsApp. We WhatsApp, they don't want to read a lengthy email that a client of mine that might be a solicitor would read. They want something that's short and snappy and tailored to them. It's the language that I use. It's understanding that we have to describe things in a way that they're going to understand. So even really small concepts like that, like literally, I was talking to someone that I work closely with, they're tax advisors, and they work in sports heavily as well. And they voice note their players because they know it's the best way of getting a response. It's just really tailoring what you're trying to get at to them and what they will like and understand.
Yeah. I think I personally would like that as well, because sometimes reading an email, when I see that it's like a lengthy email, I'll get back to that. And
also when you're on the go forever, and you've got such a busy job, and also they don't really, this isn't the most liberating of subjects, finance. So you have to make it interesting. Otherwise people are going to switch off, especially young, high earning footballers. They want to, concentrate on football, which is of course what we're here for, do that. But, it's keeping them engaged in the right ways.
Yeah. And beyond just wealth management, what other financial planning aspects are crucial for athletes, such as career transitions or unexpected injuries, like you were mentioning earlier?
I think insurance is a massive one. I know clubs kind of organise that for players, but sometimes there's certain clauses, or it might not cover exactly what they need. Some of these players are on hundreds of thousands a week. So if they've got career-ending insurance of, let's say, £200,000, for some players, that's literally a weekly wage. So it's making sure that they're aware of that and, putting them in touch with specialist insurers or sorting that out and explaining to them the benefit of having that. Again, second, career transitions. I think whether you're 18, 22, 25, 35, 38, and you're finishing football, it mentally is very weird and very shocking. I've got a lot of friends that are ex-footballers, and one in particular finished his career at 36, so he had a long stint, and still was like really hard for him to think of, okay, what do I do with my life now? And it's kind of going back to how I felt when I was 18 and leaving school. They kind of get that when they finish football, because it's pretty much all they've known. It's fun for them, I guess. They're around their friends and they're playing football, which is what most of them love. And then obviously the earnings potential as well is significantly higher in professional football than it is in, let's say, the broader kind of aspects of any other career. I think learning skill on the side of football is always going to work in your favor, whether you go into that after football or not. I know that SJP offer, a financial advisor academy, which is what I went through, and they're really honing in, and they go to clubs as well and say, look, this is a great second career. And I do know a lot of SJP advisors are ex-professional footballers themselves, because it allows them that degree of flexibility of working how they want to work and offering support to players, which they obviously know the value of themselves being an ex-player.
We always laugh with the editorial team at Money Marketing about how there seems to be like a professional athlete to financial advisor pipeline almost. We've spoken to so many who've kind of transitioned, and it makes sense because I guess maybe before they were allowing other people to manage and help them manage their fizz, and now they have more time to be able to have that focus, and they want to help others who were in that position of flailing and being like, I don't know what I'm doing, which is really
definitely
nice.
And I think, again, like you said, they understand the value of it, so they can help others in that position. And it's something that I think is becoming increasingly bigger. People promoting that this is a job, or like people like SJP Financial Advisor Academy, contacting, whether that's an ex-footballer, ex-rugby player, that it's a great career where you can make it work for you and how you want to approach things, but help people that have been in a position that you've been in before.
Mm-hmm. And beyond athletes, you also advise directors, professionals, and retired clients. What are some of the common financial concerns you see across these different client segments?
I think no matter how much money people have, whether that's, £10,000 to invest or £1 million to invest, we all kind of have the same thing, that we want to make sure our money lasts. So I think no matter the clientele, everyone's kind of predominantly got the same thing, that they want to make their money work. They want to make sure that it's safe, that they're making the most of it, and that it's going to last them for whatever their bespoke goal or objective is. Because every single person I speak to wants or has a different thing in mind, but it all comes down to the same thing, that they just want to make the most for their money, make sure it's safe, and that they're getting the right advice of what to do that's bespoke to their personal goal or objective. So again, it's just kind of looking into the future. I feel like everyone's kind of got that common goal, that they want to make sure they're doing the right thing now, which is going to put them in a better position financially in the future. And it's peace of mind for most people, that it's one of those jobs that you don't get around to doing. And then you speak to an advisor and you think, oh God, I've been meaning to do that for a while. I hear that a lot. And then it's kind of a relief that they know that they've done something about it.
Mm-hmm. And you've kind of touched on it, how you tailor and you have a practical and bespoke solutions approach. But what else do you do for your clients for this practical and bespoke solution?
I guess for the practical and bespoke is, we don't, it's all the bread and butter. It's like we maximize ISA allowances, pension contributions. We do all the things that are the basic but necessary concepts. So we don't try and make anything overcomplicated. Of course, it can get more complicated dependent on the client that you're working with and their position, but we try and make everything, again, coming down to that peace of mind. We take care of everything, whether that's the administrative burden. We deal with forms and paperwork. Of course, we'll need the clients to sign certain documents, but we're there to kind of go, right, this is that. We'll talk you through that. This is why you need to sign it. We just try and take care of everything. And that's where we make it practical, is that a client is coming to you to make their life easier and deal with this on, they don't want the added stress on whatever the career they is, or whether they're a mom, etc. So we make everything as practical as possible in that sense, by making their life easier. And again, practical in the sense of we're not trying to overcomplicate the investments or the solutions that we're recommending. The bespoke is every single client has a different need or want or financial goal, and it all comes down to, budget and what people can afford and what they're looking forward to doing. And a lot of how we make things bespoke is we use cash flow forecasting, which is really good for clients to see, okay, this is where I'm at right now. And it gives them a clear snapshot of their current financial position and includes, all their personal details, including if they've got children, etc., mortgages, all of that, spending, and gives them a snapshot of, if they implement certain recommendations, what it could look like in the future. And that's where the bespoke element really comes in as well.
Mm-hmm. And you spoke earlier about using kind of success stories or some cautionary tales to help your clients make better financial goals. So do you have any other success stories you can share?
Yeah, I guess this one's not a success story in one way, which you'll understand why, because obviously no one wants this to happen to them, but it's a success story and the importance of taking out this policy. We have a client or clients, they're a couple, family, and fit, healthy, in their 40s, frequently exercise, and we recommended a few years beforehand critical illness insurance and the benefit of that and why it's so important. And again, this is where it's not a success story, because you never want someone to suffer obviously a critical illness at all. That's not what you want at all. But I guess it shows the impact of just taking out this policy and making it affordable on a monthly basis. Unfortunately, our client did suffer a heart attack, a very unexpected one, but this critical illness payment paid off their mortgage and then some and more, and enabled the client to reevaluate the life and whether to go back to work, etc. And just took a horrific situation, but took away that pressure in the other areas. And I guess that just shows the importance of those policies.
Yeah. I mean, we talk so much about protection, and I understand some people thinking, I'm paying into this and I might never need it. Like you said, your clients were fit and healthy and they never would have expected it. But I think that's the thing that we need to understand about life, is that the unexpected always happens.
Unfortunately, yes. And again, a lot of people kind of really and ah about insurance because they kind of feel like there's no value to it. But there is such a huge impact that has. If you're going for a monthly premium that is affordable for you, again, tailored to you and your budget, the value of having it there, again, coming back to peace of mind, is just absolutely massive.
Honestly, yeah. I'm someone who likes to over prepare for things, so that is definitely something that I would.
Not a bad thing to be prepared. That's for sure. That again is a big part of our job, is to make people prepared in life, really.
Mm-hmm. And talking about financial advice as a profession, going back to that, financial literacy is obviously a growing concern, especially amongst younger people. We're all concerned about never being able to buy a house or exist. I don't know. So how can financial services as an make careers in financial advice more appealing to young people? Like you said, for you found it through your father, and that was your entry point. But what do you think is needed for someone who doesn't have family who know anything about financial services, or, some of your peers maybe when you were at school who are also a bit confused about what their future might be? How can you make financial advice something that they know about leaving sixth form, for example?
I think it's something that needs to be heavily implemented at school. Like, we learn about so much, and we don't learn about probably the biggest life skill there is. Still to this day, I know what I know because I chose a career in it. And like you said, I was really fortunate to have a pathway in through my dad and learn about that and have like that mentor there for me. For people that don't have that, I think I have friends that are in this industry that have no parent or friend or family member or anyone that they necessarily knew in a close proximity in financial services, but they kind of went into it through learning about it themselves by taking the time, because we're not taught at school and taught these important subjects, of educating themselves and then stumbling upon careers in it basically and learning how they can. I think, again, going back to, obviously because I work under SJP, the SJP Financial Advisor Academy, they do a lot of kind of insight taster evening, should I say, where you can kind of learn what it is to be a advisor, what that transition can look like from one career, or if you're going straight in, and the support there is readily available. And I think, again, social media is kind of growing on that too. I think tips would be education pieces. Again, not only at school are we not taught it, but I do a lot of the education for these young players because they're not taught it at school, and then the clubs obviously implement that, which is great, especially because these are not only young people like we are at school, but these are young people that are earning a lot of money and they really need this support too. So I think the biggest thing is education, to be honest. I think it needs to be implemented.
Yeah. And you touched on social media earlier, and I was wondering, just asking, like, for you personally, is it something that you would ever consider one of those people on social media, kind of like, not necessarily giving advice, but highlighting financial advice? Because I months ago, I wrote something about how maybe more financial people within financial services need to embrace social media, because there's so many financial influencers who are leading people down a really bad path. Especially when there was the whole crypto thing, so many people were doing
so bad. I honestly meet so many people that unfortunately, because of TikTok, do think they're traders. You have to be so careful. I think a tip for anyone that's going on to social media or TikTok, paying for a £2,000 course and learning how to trade, please just be careful. If you're taking financial tips, pointers, advice from anyone, check the FCA register, make sure they are regulated. That's a massive starting point. I always mention that. Whoever I talk to, whether that's someone that works at a football club or is a player at the club when giving education, or any prospect that I talk to, whether you don't use, I say, if you don't use me, that's like absolutely your choice, that's fine. But please, whoever you speak to, sit down with, just check the FCA register, just as a method of safety, that who you're talking to is regulated. And that's a massive one where it comes to social media, because like you've pointed out, the crypto, you've got to really check your sources. But I really want to lean into the social media side of it more. I'm young. I use social media for my own personal purposes, and I understand, how well you can do from social media. But I definitely like to lean into it more from a career point of view as well, because I do think it's so important that the right stuff is accessible, and especially for who kind of my target market is. Social media is huge because it's like the upcoming thing for younger people.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll be on the lookout for that, and I'll definitely like and follow.
This will hold me accountable to make sure that I do more on my social media for work now.
Yeah. So what are the most rewarding aspects of being a financial advisor, particularly when working with a diverse clientele like you do?
For me, I think I'm a really sociable person. So it's always really nice to meet varied people that come from very different backgrounds and understand their journey and get to know them as a client, because we're really heavy on the ongoing advice element. So it's not just a one-stop shop of, take this out or do this, see you later. It's like we will be working together for as long as you choose to work with me. So, for example, my father's had clients for years. You grow up with them effectively, their family. And that's really rewarding, is that you're helping people along their journeys, and you kind of see that what you told them helped them retire earlier, or, help pay for their daughter's wedding or things like that. So I think there's such rewarding aspects of, again, just helping people on their own personal journeys and that ongoing advice element. And I think as well, it's rewarding because you're doing it for you as an advisor, or as an advisor at SJP. It's kind of, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're tailoring this career to you and what suits you. And that, I think helps as well, because if you're happy in what you're doing, it follows on to other people.
Mm-hmm. And how does being an appointed representative with SJP benefit your clients and your practice?
I would say so. SJP, we offer the advice guarantee, which could not benefit the client more if we tried. So just to briefly touch upon what that is it gives the client an extra layer of protection. So we're all about giving that client that protection or that peace of mind that I keep mentioning. So what that does effectively is, if a client ever wrongfully was advised, which, we like to make sure, you won't be, don't worry. But again, it's just there for you to know that, they guarantee the advice given. So everything we do is so heavily checked by head office again. And that really benefits us as an advisor and the client, because, the client knows that what the advice they're being given is not only given by us, but then it's checked through head office and multiple people through what we call business assurance to make sure that the advice we're giving is 100% suitable, is correct. So you can continue on that trajectory of giving the right advice. We have access to amazing fund managers and analysts all over the world, and we don't employ them, which I think is great as well, because it can mean that you can quickly change if you need to a fund manager without the client, without it affecting the client. It keeps it diversified. It's, everything's about diversification, which again, ultimately leads to safety. That's saying, don't have all your eggs in one basket. We've got fund managers all over the world. We've got access to very different styles and different, global markets, which again comes down to that diversification piece. So yeah, I think it benefits both us of what we're able to advise on and the client in terms of safety.
So looking ahead, what are some of the key trends that you see impacting financial advice for athletes and other high net worth individuals?
To be honest, I think my answer is probably not just affect athletes or high net worth individuals, but I think it's just everyone in the game in general is AI and, this whole new concept of self-investment and digital wealth management platforms. But I think it's affecting every single type of industry there is, this AI. What that means for financial services, I don't really know. But of course, again, going back to that crypto thing and TikTok and the influence it has on people, it's the same with kind of digital wealth management platforms. You're only working on one solution there, which you might not even know the tax implications of, because no one's telling you. You're doing it all through your app. Again, advisors, might point out a need area of advice that you didn't even acknowledge you had because you didn't have the knowledge or education around that subject. So again, I think for me, I think the AI and digital wealth management platforms is the biggest thing that's kind of, it's already there, but where it ends up, I think who knows?
Yeah. It's scary to think where it might be, but it also could be very positive.
It could be really good. I'm sure it will be in so many ways. And I guess it's just the power of people. Again, it's amazing what it can do and what technology can do. But I still think, especially again, going back to high net worth and footballers, you need a point of contact. You need someone to support you. And a robot can't unfortunately do that.
Yeah. And finally, what advice do you give to other future financial advisors who are interested in specializing in a particular niche market, like the sports industry?
I think you have to pick something that you have knowledge around, or have interest in. Otherwise, it's going to show straight away. So for me, look, I couldn't even still describe to you the onside offside rule. I don't necessarily know so much about the actual technicalities of the game, but I understand the industry really well. I have friends that have suffered injuries and lost football very suddenly, which is really hard. So I understand the kind of actual business side of it, the struggles, and I'm really passionate because I've seen it firsthand to help support people through that journey. And again, when you're passionate about something, it keeps you self-motivated, it keeps you going. You need to pick an area that you have genuine interest in. Again, otherwise, not only for other people will it show, but it will show in yourself because you won't be so inclined and motivated to keep after it. I think, again, the benefits as well of niching is that referrals, and you get good at what you're doing. So you gain momentum on what you're offering. And also it's very tight-knit industry. So the sports industry, especially football, for such a big multi-million pound industry or billion pound industry, it's very tight knit, and in football everyone seems to know everyone. So if you're doing a good job, which is brilliant because word spreads pretty quickly, and again I'm sure in the same different circles and different industries, if you gain that knowledge and work with people in that industry and you niche in that, you're more likely to keep gaining referrals and heading over and gaining more knowledge in that space, which has massively helped me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Macey. I think this was a really amazing insight into your career and everything that you've done. And it's really inspiring, I think, especially for younger people looking to get into the industry. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really kind. And thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.